Hello everyone, welcome to the second video in a three-part retro review series focusing on the accessories Yamato sold for their 160 scale YF21, YF19, and or VF22 toys. The first video looked at the fast packs for the YF21. In this video, we're examining the fast packs for the YF19. And in the final video, we will look at the fold booster. To make it more fun and relevant, I'm comparing these accessories to Bandai's and Arcadia's later efforts. There were three ways you could get fast packs for the Yamato 160 scale YF19. In June 2007, Yamato released both an accessory bundle, including the fast packs with a fold booster, and a YF19 Isamu gift set that included the toy and those accessories. These releases felt premium, with even the accessory bundle featuring a box that had a flip-top lid. Finally, after releasing many more YF19 toys, Yamato sold another accessory bundle, this time also including YF21 fast packs in a simpler box without the flip-top lid. Yamato's 160 scale YF19 fast packs consist of only 4 parts. 2 for the shoulders, and 2 for the outsides of the legs. All accessory bundles also include a Yang Newman co-pilot figure and an extra seat to convert a YF19 into a 2-seater. We begin with a quick visual comparison of the Yamato, Arcadia, and Bandai DX offerings, and you will immediately notice that Bandai and Arcadia include an extra part that Yamato did not, and we will address that more in a moment. I wanted to start off addressing first the colors. We have a light gray, a darker gray, and a bluish gray, and the paint applications. Yamato gave us these ports and some silver thrusters. Arcadia dropped the silver, gave us the port still. Bandai then gave us ports, accent details in white and red, silver thrusters with a black recess. So Bandai, even on these shoulder pieces, gave us additional painted details on sides and top, and it is definitely a next level paint application there compared to what Arcadia and Yamato gave us. Yamato's parts on the shoulders are left and right based because of the screw that goes in it. And we also get a thick seam that goes right up the top. Arcadia did a much better job there, very flat throughout. And the pieces don't have screws that are visible except for the bottom, which you will not mind. Bandai, same thing. No obvious screw covers, everything nice and clean. To install the shoulder armor, there is a peg at the end of the shoulder armor. There is a slot on that shoulder. We just peg it into place. Now you might be tempted, and I've made this mistake many a times, just to swing it down at this point, but there's actually a little pivot. So if you push it up further and then bring it down, it sits a little high up on the shoulder, which is more like the line art. Bandai put their own flavor on it. It doesn't quite work the same way, but the effect is essentially the same. You peg it into the same slot, just like you would the Arcadia or the Yamato toy, because those both work exactly the same. You fold it down, and then you just push it kind of up and in, and then you get a nice flush visual like that. You can see on the other side, I haven't done that, and there is more of a gap along the top and the edge. So if I just take it now and push it in like that, there you go. That's the finished fast pack look for Batroid. Yamato got much more innovative for their leg armors. There is a magnet inside the armor and a piece of metal inside the leg. And what that allows us to do is just kind of line it up and boom, it connects like so. But if magnets are so cool, why didn't Arcadia and Bandai use them? Bandai goes with 2 pegs on the interior here, 2 obvious slots in the edge of the leg. Arcadia did a little bit better job concealing their slots. We have one up here in the black trim, one down here in this black trim that corresponds to these pegs. And what we do is we just line them up and apply a little pressure, and that is how that connects. What ultimately happens is that these connect a lot more firmly than this magnetic piece does. So as I handle this toy, it's very easy to get this askew or knock it off entirely. The solution would have been to add a peg to keep it into the right spot, but if you're adding pegs, it already connects more firmly that way. And that is why later manufacturers said, you know what? From a usability standpoint, pegs and slots just work better. A real quick public service announcement. The back of the leg armors look like they probably can fit on either leg, but for both manufacturers, there's a minor difference and you want to make sure you put them on the right spot. This is the Arcadia piece. The longer edge goes on the outside edge. This is the Bandai piece, and the easiest way to make sure you got the right one there is right above the peg, and you're not going to be able to see this, I'm sure, is an L or a R. The R goes on the left leg. Just kidding, obviously you know what to do. The Fastpacks offer very little visual impact, so they're not going to be what makes you change your mind from thinking the DX was the best looking Batroid toy to either the Yamato or the Arcadia. They're all very similar. They offer you a little bulge on the side, a little something on the shoulders, but that is it. I thought Yamato had a pretty clever workaround for the fact that they didn't give us the back of the leg fast pack, and that is that they just painted the area where that fast pack goes gray. And if we look over at the Arcadia toy, where it has the beefiest part of all of these toys that goes on the back of the leg, it does kind of just look like a gray stripe. So Yamato's workaround maybe doesn't work so great if you're not using the fast packs, where that should probably be beige, but it's pretty humorous that they just didn't do the part and gave us some paint, and that was good enough. And you know, obviously a different era of toys. Bandai's little piece here, very small, but it's doing, I guess, what it needs to do. Again, not a lot of visual impact. The Yamato toy also has those screws in the back. You could tell the Yamato toy in general wasn't meant to be looked at from the back so much. We also have the screws in the shoulders there, screws that are pretty obvious here. So, you know, we've come a long way. There was a time, not so many years ago, where toy manufacturers didn't build the idea of accessory parts into their toys, and then kind of after the fact would be like, hey, let's slap some other parts on and see what happens. And the result was frequently something that diminished the underlying toy. It would inhibit some ability of the toy, usually articulation. It was not uncommon to see leg articulation take a dive after you had to add some part to it. So these manufacturers here all had the idea of the fast packs before they even sold the toy. So the fast packs do not inhibit the underlying articulation in any way. You might have issues on the Yamato toy since the joints tended to be a little soft. You're adding a little bit more weight, and that might cause joints to spin or droop when you don't want them to. But that's, again, a problem the toy has even without the fast packs, and it's just making that a little bit worse. The other thing that can happen, I have some with soft shoulders. You add weight to the edge of the shoulder, that part might want to droop down on you. I don't really consider these faults of the fast pack parts for Yamato, just that underlying toy's weaknesses that both Arcadia and Bandai addressed, and they are fantastic to handle with or without those fastback parts on. Huge props to Bandai for being the only one of the three manufacturers who gave us this prototype heavy arm that was seen briefly in Macross Plus. The backstory was that it was supposed to be included with the fast packs, or was a potential part to be included with the fast packs. It did not make it into Isamu's final loadout, so it is not seen in the Earth scenes, and maybe that's why Yamato and Arcadia passed on it. But Bandai not only gave it to us, but they gave us the ability to collapse the weaponry inside, well, again, as shown in the OVA, and it has the ability to convert for fighter mode. So this is really a full-featured accessory that is only included with Bandai's Fastpack, and it's probably really the only part of the Fastpacks that has some fun engineering to it. So again, huge props to Bandai. Yamato gives us the ability to convert from single-seat version to two-seat version. To do this, you're going to open up your canopy like you've seen here. The nose on the Yamato might droop a little bit because the peg at the bottom of this canopy, this front canopy, actually latches into the nose. So once we lift this up or remove it, we lose one of those connection mechanisms. You're going to go ahead and take it off because that's the easiest way to do this. And then we are going to lift up on Osamu and his seat. And in doing so, we're going to free up this little front control panel here. And then we can reach back and grab this cover here and remove that. And now you can see we have a completely empty canopy. We're going to grab our Yang, Yan, Lang co-pilot seat and press that all the way back. And then we're going to grab our Lang Yan figure, and I think Yamato just really did an amazing job. I love the clear helmet that you could see his glasses underneath there. Yeah, he's big. He's definitely much bigger than Arcadia or Bandai's efforts, but look at the helmets. Like Arcadia's looks like it was dipped in chocolate. So huge ups for Yamato there. We're going to put this figure in. Very tight squeeze to get him into position like so. Grab your Osamu figure now. Get him back into position. Grab your control cluster. Put that back on that front peg like so. Grab your canopy. There you go. Now you've got a nice two-seat version of the YF-19. Closing everything back up can be a point of frustration, so I did want to help walk you through that. Here you can see if I push down on the canopy, there's the peg that comes out underneath and needs to latch into that nose. Also, if I just go to close this glass in the back, which is obviously not glass, but that gets caught. So there is a little bit of play in this back part, and you want it to be kind of up as high as you can get it. So wiggle it upward and then close it, and you shouldn't have any problems. You should be able to close Osamu's no problem after that. And then we just bring the nose up, get the black thing into position, and then it's just a matter of finding that tooth and making sure that that's in the front of the cockpit nose cone area, and then we can close that piece up underneath it. And there you go. Now you're all back together again. The Arcadia toy follows the Yamato in form and function here. We're going to lift up and remove that front canopy. We're going to pop open the rear canopy, which has a pull up mechanism before it opens, also removable. Get that completely straight up to give yourself the clearance to reach in behind there and pull this piece up. So we don't have to remove Osamu, we don't have to remove his control panel. We can just squeeze everything in behind him. So I've got that second seat they give us. That's going in, and I've got my co-pilot figure, squeeze him in there, and then I can bring this down and close that, put this piece back into position, a little bit cleaner and easier to pull off. And then there's Bandai's approach, which was basically just to say, look, it's a two-seater. It is a two-seater. That's all we really need to worry about. And this is kind of funny because Bandai had their YF-29 toys long ago that had convertible 1 to 2 seat mechanisms. But for their YF-19 toy, they were just like, nah, we're just going to throw 2 seats in there. It's always a two-seater. If you want to use the co-pilot, that's up to you. And that's all there is to it. I have not seen a lot of line art of a Super YF-19 in gerwalk mode, but I believe you're going to leave these armor parts in their Batroid configuration. It tends to make a lot of sense, especially for the DX toy, where we have it a little tighter to the body when you've done that moving. So everything makes sense. This is how it should look. Again, all the toys made with the fast packs in mind. So as we handle these toys, they're going to handle just as well as they did before. With the exception of those leg armors on the Yamato, very easy to be handling this toy and knocking those off. And then on my Arcadia toy, you can have very loose ankles on these toys in gerwalk mode, right? That's a problem of the underlying toy. And because of that, you might find yourself grabbing the toy frequently and then popping off the back of the leg armors. So that can be a bit of a bummer. But that's more, again, related to how the Arcadia toy handles gerwalk mode with its loose ankles and loose shields and loose other parts. So not really a problem created by the fast packs. The Yamato toy does a great job getting to fighter mode without needing to remove any parts. This fast pack part that belongs on top of the shoulder has a couple gimmicks to it. You're gonna need to slide this swing up to the top, and we're gonna flip out this cavity filler right here, and then it can go. Now, again, you wouldn't have had to even remove this during transformation. I'm just showing it to you because I'm such a nice guy. But then we can put this on here, and the leg armor is tabbing into that wing, and that's what's gonna hold that in position. And then the leg gets held into position by the peg from that shoulder fast pack armor going into it. Let's see if we can get that lined up. There it goes. And that produces your structural rigidity on the Yamato toy with the fast packs controlled in fighter mode. It's surprisingly solid for as noodly as it feels like just moments before it all latches together. But yeah, I can whoosh this thing around. Even though these are magnetic, they're in place well enough where it won't be a problem, and you can still have some fun with it. Now here's the Arcadia toy, and it uses the same mechanism for the shoulder fast pack. We have a little cavity filler piece that pops out. It latches into the back of the leg also. It's a much more rigid toy in its handling, so it feels comfortable as you're bringing it all together. Now, I wasn't able to transform my toy without various parts popping off, but I believe it is conceptually possible, if things did fit together a little more firmly, that you can go from Batroid all the way to fighter mode without having to remove and install parts, which is always a plus in my book. Now, some of you might be old enough to remember back when the VF-19 Advance was released. Okay, that's enough of that. But the VF-19 Advance, when it was released, Bandai had a bunch of art out there that failed to show this big peg that floats in fighter mode of these toys when the fast packs are on, or the advanced packs as the case was then. They've changed their habits since then. In the newer art for the YF-19, they showed that peg. And you should be aware of it because it is the biggest downside of fighter mode when you're using those fast packs. Another downside is that the little calf armor that goes on the back of the leg there has to be removed when bringing the legs up into fighter position. This is a very tricky toy to get back into fighter position, and the clearance around sort of the elbow that connects to that shield is very, very small. So you're gonna have to pop that piece off and then pop it back on again. And unlike the Arcadia or Yamato toys, so here I can show you, very limited clearance there for that piece. These toys do not have a cavity filler because this connection point is so thick that it kind of acts as its own little cavity filler. So that, I guess, is okay, just different, but otherwise the fast packs stay on there solid, whooshing around ability, and they don't look too bad. It's just a little bit of a shame for that peg right there. You might be tempted to say, well, let's shun the DX toy because that's stupid that it has that big peg that's showing, but Bandai did something that's pretty cool. They have their armor peg into the center of the leg, and that allows you to still use this missile in the leg, even with the armor part attached. And I could even right now collapse that back together. Let's see if I can get the hinge going in the right way and put it all back away. Now, it's not easy to do by any means, and I don't know if you would actually do that, but there you go. I can trap that door back in the leg. And what makes this particularly cool, in the OVA, is Samu's got the fast packs on when he fires that missile at the YF-21. So Bandai, true to form at least in that function. Arcadia didn't quite have the same level of foresight. Their leg armor piece, as I showed you earlier, is attached around the perimeter of the leg, and you can see that wing really settles into that armor part. So if I want to right now get to that missile, Really, the only thing I can do is remove this piece, bring my fingernail within, and you can see no slots here at all. Again, the pegs are on the outside of this trap door, so I can have this missile open, but I can't do it just like it is in the show. And so to me, that is a bummer. I showed you earlier the DX toy includes that prototype cannon that goes on the arm, and you can put that on the toy in fighter mode. It folds into this configuration. Maybe doesn't fold together quite as tightly as I would like it to. It does cause some clearance issues, but then you can take the gun and rotate it off to one side to solve, well, mostly solve. The gun is still pushing against the ground there. Maybe that's why Osamu didn't take it to Earth. But still, the fact that this happens and is included only with the DX toy is a nice positive for those parts. I have a little larger sample size when it comes to the Yamato fast packs, and I did want to point out sometimes there are little fit issues. This tab right here, I have added a layer of tape to. Might be kind of hard to see. At this point, I've used it so many times that tape isn't doing what it needs to do anymore. But the reason it's there is because there's so little tension when I plug it in like I'm supposed to be able to. That might be an issue you encounter. If you do, use my same little solution of just putting a little Scotch tape right over the top of the peg, and that should get you where you need to be. All Yamato YF-19 and Arcadia YF-19 toys come with a display stand adapter that works with various display stands, but originally it was Yamato's launch arm display stand, which was sold separately. As you can see, it attaches in the center. Whether or not you use the fast packs does not matter for the way that that works. It'll work with or without. Bandai gave us the DX display stand seen here. This is the fighter adapter. And all you gotta do, since the legs sit a little bit lower in fighter mode, is remove this part and bring it down a little bit lower, and then just put it on your display stand like you normally would. Put the toy there, and you are off to the races. Bandai and Arcadia both included a plethora of missiles to go along with these fast packs, or just the underlying toys. Unclear. The missiles were never in the anime, so I don't know if Bandai does do a reissue of their fast packs as they sold separately part, if they would include those missiles. But as it is, the fact that they include that cannon and that the missile panel works on the legs in fighter mode makes it my favorite, despite the fact that we do have this ugly tab. But I understand that that ugly tab is going to lead people to say, you know what, I think Arcadia did it better, despite the fact you can't access the missiles like Osamu does in the OVA. So, you know, that's your pick your poison. The Yamato toy does not have hard points, so it could not have missiles. But for the era, for the underlying toy, I think the fast packs do a fine job. It's a little bit of a bummer that they are missing a part, but it is such a tiny part that gets relegated to the back of the leg. I think a lot of people could have overlooked that, and did, honestly, for a long time. Clearly, Arcadia and Bandai have improved on the original here. Was this helpful? Please give me a thumbs up. Did I miss something, or did I not touch something enough? Please leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Subscribe if you are into transformable toys, because I do lots of videos on them. And I have individual reviews of all these toys that you should check out if this has been interesting to you. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.